These are all of my favorite books, 5-star reads, book recommendations, and I thought I would talk about them today. So let's get into it. I think it's only fair to start with the book that originally got me into reading, which is The Nightingale by Kristin Hannah. It's a World War II historical fiction about two sisters. It's so heavy and it has romance and the story is so gripping. I highly recommend it. I also read Winter Garden by her a really long time ago. She writes historical fiction, so it's also another historical fiction book, and I also gave that one 5 stars, but I read it so long ago I don't really remember it very well. The next one is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This book, if you are a woman in your 20s, I need you to read this if you haven't yet. It hit me so hard. It's just about growing up, finding yourself in your 20s, how your relationships change with your friends who move in with their partners and how their priorities shift from friendship to their partner. It also talks about how maybe your 20s aren't what they thought it would be and handling that. She also has really funny stories in here, so it's a good, easy, light read and I recommend it. Next, Normal People by Sally Rooney. I'm a huge Sally Rooney fan. This book follows Marian and Connell and their relationship from high school to college. And, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if this is for people in a happy relationship. It deals with miscommunication, coming of age in college, which I think is pretty rare in media. I honestly read this when I was upset about a boy and it hit me really hard. So if you're going through that, you should read this for sure. Seven Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo. I feel like everyone and their mother has read this book, but if you haven't, I think it should be time to pick it up, especially if LGBTQ plus rights makes you emotional as it does me. This book follows Evelyn, who's an actress, and she essentially is talking about her life and all the men that she was married to, but most importantly, her actual love. I don't want to give too much away, but it's really good. The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This, I feel like, is going to be a classic if it already isn't. So this follows students at a college and they're in this really exclusive Greek program, and Bunny, one of the students, dies at the beginning, and again, I don't want to give too much away, but you're following how the characters are reacting to that death throughout the whole book. The research that the author put into this about what the subjects that they were studying was so impressive. I wouldn't say that it's like a fast book to read, so, might take a little longer. Okay, Homegoing. This book actually blew my mind. It's top favorite books. It's a historical fiction book. It follows two sisters who were born in Ghana. One of them is sold to slavery in the US and one of them stays in Ghana. And each chapter is a different person in their family line. There's actually a family tree at the beginning of the book, so you can refer back to it to see who you're reading about. The research that went into this was so impressive. It was also really, even though it was historical fiction, it was really fast paced and I wanted to know what was coming next. If you want to read more about how racism has impacted so many generations, I highly recommend this. Okay, and then we have Gone Girl. This is so famous for a reason. If you haven't read it yet, I really recommend it. Her writing actually gave me chills. It was just so incredible, and honestly, unlike any other writing that I've read before, I'm really excited to read more books by her. Okay, A Little Life. This is, I think, my favorite book of all time, either this or Homegoing. And it is so heavy, it's so long, it's the most beautiful book I have ever read. It follows one character, Jude, and his friends, but every character is so complex and it goes into these tangents and into different characters, but it's all so important in the story. There is extremely graphic self-harm in this book, so it's just a trigger warning. Definitely look up the trigger warnings before you tackle this monster. It's also extremely long, but I don't know. I think it's worth it, personally. Okay, that's it for all the books that I have, and then I have a few more that I don't have copies of. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. That book was amazing. It's about Sadie and Sam, and they meet in LA as children and end up at the same school for college, and they create a few video games together, and it's about their friendship. It's about their friendship and other relationships that they find and their conflicts, and I felt like the characters were real people, like they go through some but it's so good. And then Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's a romance book about the first son of the US and the Prince of England, and they actually just came out with a movie of it. But I don't know, I thought it was really cute, heartwarming. You know, if you want like a heartwarming romance, that one's really good. Okay, Finding Me by Viola Davis. I listened to the audiobook, and I highly, highly recommend the audiobook because of the way she tells her story. It's so powerful. It's a memoir about her life. It's about how she grew up in severe poverty and how she worked so hard to get where she is in her acting career. And I actually listened to it at a really good time, I think, over the summer during the actor strikes, because a really big part of the book was how she was working and working and working, and she still could barely afford to live in LA, which is what the actors are striking about. So that was a really good personal anecdote of the struggle. I also read Just Mercy in 2020, and that's about the author's work on death row, and it just, if you haven't really thought about it, I don't know, it's like really taught me a lot and gives me a really different perspective. It was so sad, it was so powerful. I really think everyone needs to read it. Next is Mary Jane. It's about this 14-year-old girl, Mary Jane, who was raised in a very Christian, conservative family, and she goes and nannies for a Jewish, more very different musical artist family. And it really talks about anti-Semitism, and it's a coming of age story, and it was really fun, but it also dealt with some heavy topics, so I really liked that. Okay, that was it. Let me know if you've read any of these. Thank you for watching. Bye!